DJB 2003 here, and as you can clearly see, today we're doing another figure review, and this is of the brand new for 2019 CollectA Deluxe Carnotaurus. First thing I gotta say is just wow. This thing is, I would consider it the best Carnotaurus on the market right now, and CollectA has definitely been upping their game lately. I mean, they've always been a good company. In fact, back in 2014, 2015, I probably would have considered them the best company. But, I mean, lately they've just been completely overshadowed by Safari. So, I'm glad to see that they released an absolute banger of a figure like this year. And the Baryonyx is looking equally as delicious. So, yeah, let's get into the review. So the first thing I want to talk about is the sculpted detail on this thing, and it is just exquisite. It's probably going to be kind of hard for my camera to even pick it up, it's so small, but seriously, these are some of the tiniest little scales I have ever seen done on a dinosaur model, and it's just staggering, really. I mean, you can see that there's also a bunch of these larger scales, these little osteoderms coming all around them, which is very nice looking. And then we got these very crisply done spikes running down the top, and those just look awesome. The head has some of the best detail, honestly. The horns are nicely done. If it'll focus. The teeth are absolutely puny little things, which is lovely. And just all in all, like the musculature and the skin folds, it all just looks so good. Even down on the base, it looks like CollectA actually tried on one of their bases. Like, what a concept. There's actually some nice little leaves and sticks and different dirt patterns there. They still haven't painted it, which is kind of a shame, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. See with the claws there. The feet looking very nice. On the other side, you see, again, just more of that. Back up to that gorgeous, gorgeous head sculpt. Next thing I want to talk about here is the paint job, and oh boy, there's a lot done right with this thing's paint job. First of all, the overall color scheme is very nice. It's this pretty bright kind of pinkish red almost, and it goes up into this really rusty color, kind of this brown red at the top. Got some of these nice stripes up by the face. CollectA does like painting the faces of their theropods different colors. They've done it with the, what was it, the Ceratosaurus, the Torvosaurus. Those are the big two examples, but this looks nice. It's not quite as in your face and extreme as those ones. Like, I think that kind of war paint looks, it looks good, but I don't see why an animal would have that. Like, this is the same color as the underside, roughly. And it's not just super, again, in your face, so that's good. And I gotta say, on the head sculpts, like, the head on this thing is tiny. Like, there's my thumb and my thumbnail, and you can see that it's not a whole lot bigger than this head, which is nice. And considering how well they painted the thing, it's just, wow, the eye looks nice and they're all black. They've given the horns some nice black tips, and the paint on the inside of the mouth and the teeth and the gums here, there is just no slop anywhere on this thing. Like, you can look all around down to the toe claws, these little finger claws, just showing all these spikes. There's just nothing to find wrong with the paint job, so that is awesome. Only thing is, I wish that they painted the base, but what can you do? Well, I guess you could paint it, but whatever. So next up is accuracy, and I gotta say, this thing is amazingly accurate. Oh my god. I mean, the proportions are just flawless. If we come up top, you can see that the base of the tail is very thick. The tail's about the right length, and overall it's a very slender, lean looking thing. The neck is nice and long as it should be. Arms are just pathetically tiny. The legs are a good length and a good width too. The toes up here are splayed out. It's just wow. There's zero shrink wrapping on this thing, which is amazing to see. They got an ear hole. You got a cloaca. The skin texturing is right, as we do have skin impressions of Carnotaurus. The only thing that I can really say, and I don't know this for a fact, but I don't know that Abelisaurs had claws on their hands. Carnotaurus in particular, they may have, but I don't know that they did. So that's a potential flaw, but that's a tiny little nitpick, if it even is a valid one. But man, CollectA really have proven themselves with this thing. This is just impeccable. So as far as size is concerned, this is actually a pretty big figure. I would consider this to be a large theropod. And to demonstrate that, here's the Papa running T-Rex, which is a good bit bigger. This figure is a lot bigger than a lot of people realize. But if we come up top to get a look at the length, if we press both of their tails against the wall there, the Papa Rex is longer. It is taller, and it is a lot thicker, but you can see that the Carno is, yeah. Whoops, there. Don't start falling. It's not super small. Like it's a good size. So next up is a kind of classic size comparison. Really here, this is the Carnegie Carnotaurus from 2010, I think. Yeah, 2010. And as you can see, the Carnegie one is taller, mainly because of the pose. This new CollectA one is longer. If we line their snouts up there, CollectA one's tail does extend out farther, lowering the... Oh, that doesn't really change much of anything, but CollectA one is still longer there. They're fairly close to being the same size, but I would say the CollectA one is overall just kind of feels a little bigger. I don't know. They're both pretty good sized Carnotaurs, and yeah, I don't know. I'd say they're pretty close to the same size, but they advertise this figure as being in 1/40 scale. It most definitely is not. It's as big as, if not bigger than, the old Carnegie one, which I believe Safari advertises being in 1/30 scale. So you can really get a sense there of just how large this thing is. It is big for a Carnotaurus, but I personally don't mind it. A lot of people do, and wish that both CollectA and Safari made proper 1/40 Carnotaurs that are like the small, like Safari limited you Tyrannus sized figures, but I'm okay with it. I kind of wish that at least Safari had as well, but I guess it does let them get a lot more detail on the model in general, and so it's a fair trade-off in my opinion. Next up is the Safari Limited Carnotaurus, and you can see this one is actually a good bit smaller than the CollectA one. A lot of people were really ripping on the Safari one for being so big, but it's pretty small fry compared to the CollectA thing. It's a lot, you know, shorter this way, it's shorter this way. Even if you were to level this thing's feet up with the base, kinda, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's still a good bit less tall. Only thing this one has going for it is a little beefier. Well, a lot beefier, because this thing is like a muscle monster. But you can see that the CollectA one just stands out a lot more and has a lot more presence to it. This was just something I wanted to see. All three of these bright, kind of reddish, fiery looking Carnotaurs, all about the same size-ish. Safari one, you're smaller, but it's kind of all right next to each other. That looks cool. Nice little pack there. Yeah. Next up, I wanted to bring in a couple more deluxe CollectA models. So here is the 2015 Spinosaurus. You can see that the Spinosaurus is in pretty much every dimension larger than the Carnotaurus. It's a lot longer, and it's taller because its sail is very tall. But like, so even still here, you can see just how big this Carno is. And if you were to put these two up like they were fighting for some reason, even though they lived in separate time periods and on totally different continents, that's minor details. It doesn't look like a totally one-sided sort of, well, this one's way bigger, so it obviously curb stomps there. I don't know. They're both close enough to the same size, I guess. Spino still definitely bigger for sure. Next up is what I would have probably considered my favorite deluxe theropod from CollectA before this, the Carnotaurus from 2015, I think. Yeah, 2015 for sure. You can see that again, they're fairly close-ish to the same size. The Carno is, I believe, it's a tad bit. No, they're actually right about the same length. The Carno is a bit taller, but that's just because of the base. If we put the Acro up at the same level, they're about the same. If not, the Acro might be a tiny bit taller, and the Acro is bulkier. But they are very, very, very close to the same size. I would say this is probably roughly identical in size to their Torvosaurus from 2016. So, yeah, you can see there that just about how big it is. So overall, I would say this is probably the best figure that we've gotten out of CollectA in a long time, and probably the best Carnotaurus that we've gotten in a while too. Only place that I'm positive this thing is available on is Everything Dinosaur, and it's a little over $20 US over there, so go buy it. It is good. It is very good. That's almost twice the cost of the Safari one though. But this just is exponentially superior to the Safari one. So if you want a good Carnotaurus, get this. If you want a small one, don't get this. Get the Papa one. The Papa one is nice. If you want a bigger one, this is better than the Carnegie and Reborn ones, and also a heck of a lot cheaper than either one of them too. So yeah, bye.